You're watching live coverage from the CBT News Stage at the 2024 NADA Show in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey, it's day one at the 2024 NADA Show, and we are live right here at the CBT News Stage, and we are joined by Kevin Tynan, who's the senior automotive analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. You've seen him here before on CBT News. Thank you so much for stopping by the stage. Sure. So you're just the guy to ask. You know, we got AI, we got all these different concerns that dealers have about the industry in 2024. We got EVs that we've spoken about before. So what say you on all these topics? What do you hear out there, and what are you telling dealers?
Very interesting time. I think we saw that the dynamics of the industry really ended at the end of 23. So 24 is a new dynamic, but it's actually the new old dynamic in the sense that through the pandemic period and even just after, you had recovering volume,
right?
You had prices increasing, you had margins widening. And 2024 is a year where everything recouples, which says if you want more volume from here on out, you're going to sacrifice something, price and or margin, or both together. So it's sort of a decision time year, which says you're not going to be able to do everything all at once, the best of times, where you got margin, you got price, you got volume, all increasing at the same time. So the dealers are sort of in a wait and see what the manufacturers do in terms of output, which I think is going to go back to probably closer to what it used to be, maybe not all the way there. But what I've been talking about and what I think a lot of dealers are focused on is fixed ops. I think that's in this sort of pause, wait and see. New vehicle are expensive, used vehicle are expensive, and margins are compressing. So I think the place you're going to see really the focus in this year, not EVs, but in your fixed parts, parts counters, service bays, F&I.
And now the average age of a car is 12 and a half years. So now you've got to be repairing those cars. Those cars usually have in excess of 100,000 miles if you're talking about something like that. So dealers are going to be making a pile of money in fixed ops.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the fear to me is not direct to consumer auto sales. I think the threat going forward is a little bit more of the over-the-air update, you know, because again, that hits you in your service bays. Consumer doesn't need to or want to come to you to get service. So that's the thing I would be watching, maybe not immediately this year at the beginning of the year, but I think the dealers are going to want to know, where do we stand in this with our OEs as we go through warranty work, because we've seen in the first 36 months, warranty work on EVs is actually more intense. And look, at the end of the day, EVs are not that big of the market still.
No, it's not.
You know, so really the money is not necessarily make or break on EV, and even in your service base yet. Never mind at the front end in your volume,
for sure,
or in your used, you know, inventory.
That's right. Speaking of used, we're going to be seeing, based on the reports that I read, but because of leasing, now that winding down, we're not going to have that 3-year cycle of vehicles coming off of lease, right?
Except for EVs. Right. So what happens is with the IRA, there was a benefit. Perhaps a vehicle didn't qualify, but if it was leased, it did. So there was probably a very high percentage, and I don't know it off the top of my head, of lease penetration in EV, but not in internal combustion. So yes, there's going to be a dearth of supply of internal combustion vehicles. This year, maybe 3 and change million, but next year for 2025, it goes to 2.5. From 5, It was 5 previously, but you're going to start to see the off-lease EVs over the next couple of years. The problem there is we're struggling to value them, What's a residual value on those things?
We just saw Hertz come out with a whole.
Well, and then you also have the manufacturers, not just Tesla, but lowering prices almost every day.
That's right.
So that's just wreaking havoc on your residuals, and you know, then you talk about subscription things, so it doesn't transfer, and then the next. So how are you valuing used cars going forward? It's going to be a little bit sticky. Plus battery health, where is it? You know, there's a lot to think about in the off-lease EV pool that's coming back. Which could be troublesome in terms of total cost of ownership for the consumer. Right. You lease it, you walk away from it. Now whoever owns that, whatever finance company owns it, is upside down on the residual.
Yeah, could be pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once you've got those cars hitting the market, and dealers are great, you got cars available, but they're used EVs, right? And we can't sell them new right now.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting dichotomy because you're going to have internal combustion vehicles because of that lack of supply, prices going higher. You're going to have this flood of off-lease EVs driving prices lower.
That's right.
And you wonder if that
the perfect storm
affordability gap between the two is going to influence one way or the other.
Yeah.
Most likely, the impact would be pulling prices down on internal combustion, but it's such a different drivetrain technology that it might not. You know, the person who is thinking used internal combustion might not threaten with, well, I'll go buy a used EV, where the dealers say, have at it.
I know.
You know, and really not impact pricing.
Yeah. So do you think that we're going to see used cars? Where do you think the used car values will end up? I mean, it's going to be.
I think it's going to be elevated, right? So again, you have leasing as an incentive.
Yeah.
We didn't need incentives through that entire period, and with a 3-year rolling, you know, if you're talking about, you know, a 14 million unit market at less than 20% lease penetration, it's a significant difference than 17 million units at 30% lease penetration.
That's right.
So, you know, because the new vehicle market's been so depressed or aligned with demand so tight, you didn't need incentives. That drives down the lease penetration, which is a 3-year lag on it. And so to me, just thinking about it supply and demand wise, there's no way used vehicle prices can come down significantly. There's just not enough units of them. And that lasts through 25, and we'll see 26 is a little bit higher because 23 was, let's say, we did a 15.4 at roughly 20 and change. So you're back above 3 million, right? 3.1, 3.2. But it's not 5.
No, it's not. It's not.
So
what do you think will happen with leasing? I mean, it's kind of a convoluted state out there right now, right?
Difficult because of interest rates, but at the end of the day, it's a way to create affordability for the consumer, which is inventory control for the manufacturer. So whether you're putting cash on the hood, whether you're doing low rate financing, whether you're doing leasing, it all is the same animal.
Or a subvented additional residual value, you know,
or subsidize the residual, The difference with leasing in terms of cash on the hood is you can theoretically kick the can down the road those 3 years in terms of your residual. Maybe it's worth more, unlikely, and hopefully it's not worth significantly less. But as a finance company, you own that vehicle, you're not worried about the value of it really for 3 more years. Where the cash is gone today.
That's right. That's right. This EV situation though has got dealers, you know, very concerned. I mean, those are the ones that are starting to stockpile on the lot.
And I think, you know, it happened so quickly.
I know.
You know, I was talking about the narrative having to improve significantly by the end of 2024. And it's really been the end of 2023 that everything turned so sour. But talking to dealerships all the time, it's just, you know, even if the demand is there, there's no margin in them. It's just a very difficult place. And I actually had a client reach out to me before saying, like, would you say that consumer demand is souring on EVs? And I don't know that it was ever that great. You know, when you look at our 6-7% EV penetration in this country, it's not widespread. It's not every state, it's not every automaker, right? In fact, it's probably one automaker, and in those states, it's very concentrated counties or zip codes. You know, so if I wanted to be optimistic about EV, I'd rather see a consistent 6%, 7% across region, states, across manufacturers, and say, okay, we'll get there. But adoption is so concentrated. The question for me now is there not really demand for EVs and only demand for Tesla? Right? Because you can argue there's demand for Tesla, but it may not be for the overall technology from anybody else. Just for that nameplate. Which is crazy. You know, you don't even see those Tesla customers in a large number brand to try or buy these other EVs. But then it becomes a niche brand that has 6-7% of the market. Like your BMW or and who wants it goes there. And that's it. And everybody else is doing their other thing, which is, you know, obviously there's been a lot of investment there. Government's bought in, you know, so there would be a little bit of unwinding that would have to happen. if it's, but talking to people last night, we're thinking like, can EV be something other than niche or everything?
Right.
How is this 30%, 50%? It doesn't make sense.
That's right.
It feels like it has to be an all or nothing.
That's right.
Maybe not completely zero-sum game, but certainly niche or everything. And I just don't know how everything works or what that timeline looks like. I think it's very long.
And there's so many things dependent on that, everything, the infrastructure and
right.
It's incredible, incredible. Kevin Tynan, Senior Automotive Analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Always a pleasure.
It is always great catching up with you. You're one of those people that everyone texts or sends us an email and goes, you got to have that guy back on more. He's very smart about the market.
Anytime you need me, I'm here.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the live coverage from the CBT News Stage at the 2024 NADA Show.